Welcome to KCIW listeners at 100.7 and kciw.org, Brookings, Oregon. Well, I'm going to start something new that I normally do every morning, and it's a little bit of your participation if you so desire. I say, it's a brand new day, and you respond, never been lived before. So listeners, here we go. It's a brand new day.
Never been lived before.
You got it. Right on. Thank you. There's my guest. You already have a little peek of who this guest might be today. So welcome to Joyously Free with none better than Joanie Lindenmeyer. Yes, that's me, author and resident of Harbor, Oregon for now 34 years. Wow. My KCIW radio show is a show that talks about LGBTQ plus stories and tips, along with religion, church, faith, and spirituality. Simply put, it's the words joy, freedom, courage, confidence, and collaboration. So in my words, I say, hey, let's have fun with the greatest talk show ever, Joyously Free. Many of you know me. I'm a vibrant, joy-filled, great communicator, a title given to me by Emily. She now lives up in Salem. This show is for a wide range of listeners and encompasses joy in every weekly topic. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. The purpose of our show is to share and spread, of course, joy and freedom, hence the title, Joyously Free. It is also the title of my second book that I co-authored with Elizabeth Atkins of twosisterswriting.com, and we are proud to boast 32 contributing writers, many locally here from Brookings, Gold Beach, and Crescent City, and those will be some of our radio guests. You will get to hear their version of living their truth. This week, KCIW Joyously Free radio show will feature my excited belief in hope and in the divine. Yes, that's Jesus and God. Whatever name you put on a higher being is always with me and with you. So, be not troubled. Be not afraid or saddened. Joy and peace are an internal expression of love and harmony that is already within each of us, and all we have to do is reach deep inside and let it out. All is well with my soul. Be alive. Of course, as you know before, in my show, there will be no hate speech, no hate behaviors, and no bullying. It will be blasted with, again, the 3 C's, courage, confidence, and collaboration. So together, we seek understanding. We will think out of the box, or no boxes, as my Cairo believed, and be happy knowing that abundant gratefulness, respect, and appreciation with our nature, our friends, our family, and our loving, kind community, all here on the Southern Oregon and Northern California coast. We can be better, not bitter, for we are spiritual beings as well as human beings. Let's have a happy day, KCIW listeners. So you know me as well. Let's get started with prayer. Let's first center ourselves, taking a deep breath in with the good and out with the doubt. Let's breathe in again. Breathe in with gratitude and out with worry. Let's breathe in with joy and out with despair. In the name of our Mother Earth, our God, our Creator, Jesus, our Redeemer, and the blowing winds of the Holy Spirit, I often use the sign of the cross as my reverent approach. You may choose something else. So it's a hi Jesus, hi God, and hi Spirit. Our reading today is from Mark chapter 2, and I'm only going to read the first couple sentences because it's very powerful. Jesus went out along the sea. All the crowd came to him, and he taught them. As he passed by, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the customs post. Jesus said to him, "Follow me." I told you it was going to be short and sweet. Well, follow me comes in many, many different forms for each of us. And I can remember back when I was about 20 years old. And if you've read my None Better, you'll remember this story. But I was visiting some sisters at Our Lady of Peace High School. And they stayed in my mind and my heart as I talked with them. And I said to them, Jesus keeps asking me to follow him. I'm not sure what that means, but all I know is I need to say yes, to follow him, to be like him, to spread his word, to spread his love. And that has been my life mission all of my life. I just follow Jesus. I learn about him. I read about him. I talk to people about him. And yes, he was a human being, a real human being, but he was also godly. And holy mollies, I think we all have that God spirit inside of us. And I think Jesus is with us all the time. So those are my golden nuggets for today, and I hope that they were helpful. Wow, am I excited. We're going to move into our guest speaker today. Oh my gosh, I have known this person for not very long, maybe a year or more, and she's going to jump in and probably tell us more about that. But I've always admired her. I love her reading when she is in a place where she is doing a reading, and I'm going to let her describe where that is or what that is. She's smart, articulate, loves to travel, has a husband that I think is hilarious, and we laugh all the time together. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you, KCIW listeners, to our special guest, Dr. Louise C. Abbott. Welcome, Louise.
Thank you so much. It's very, very great. I'm very grateful to be here.
Oh, and I am grateful to have you here. Holy mollies. You know, and I love our topic, which you picked, which is church and faith. And that's how I know you, and maybe you'll tie that in today. But I just hope that we can have an incredible, open-hearted conversation today, just like a chit-chat with a taco or a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So with that, Louise, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, first let me just mention how Joanie and I first met. I currently attend the St. Timothy's Episcopal Church, and that's where we met. And I am active in the service projects that are happening at St. Timothy's. But that's really sort of the end of my process right now because I'm a retired university professor, and so my journey really began in terms of my church and my faith back when I was growing up. I grew up in Lake Oswego, Oregon. I attended Our Savior's Lutheran Church there. So I've been a lifelong Lutheran. I'm still a member of the Lutheran Church, but the church that I currently am a member of is in Coos Bay. Which is why I attend
Pastor Alyssa?
With Pastor Alyssa.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
right.
Alyssa is incredible.
Yes, she is.
She's incredible. I'll be speaking and doing my book events up there in February.
Wonderful.
Maybe we can go up together.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you on that.
That's fine. Anyway, but since I can't get up to Coos Bay every week, then when I'm not up there, which is I try to get there at least every other month, I'm attending St. Timothy's.
Got it.
So.
But it's Episcopalian.
It is Episcopalian, but that's pretty close to Lutherans.
Okay, you can tell us more about that as we move on.
Yeah. So, but when I was growing up in Lake Oswego, I discovered that I had a passion for biology, and then you talk about following Jesus, and what happens is that we get called by Jesus,
absolutely, and
then we need to follow him and do what we can to help our fellow beings, and including not just human beings, but animal beings and etc.
Yes.
In this world. That's what we're called to do by God. And so when I was in 8th grade, God told me to be a university professor.
Oh, wow. High tennis to you.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, so I knew at that point. So I said, okay, what do I need to do? So after I graduated from high school, I went to Whitman College in Walla Walla, Washington, and earned a BA. It's not a Bachelor of Science, but a Bachelor of Arts because it's a liberal arts school, but a BA in biology.
Okay.
And I said, okay, then what do I need to do, God? Well, first of all, he said, okay, marry Jim.
Did you meet Jim
I met Jim
Whitman?
at Whitman. Yes,
Okay.
Yes. I was 17 when I met him.
Oh, there we go. A love story on the road.
And then he was all of I went to college a little bit early, and so then he was an upperclassman at that point.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so we just after I graduated, we got married. But then I said, okay, what do I need to be doing? And so I said, I need to if I want to be a university professor, I have to get a PhD. So I enrolled in the University of Washington in the zoology department and worked on my PhD there. And at the time, also, Jim and I were very involved with the Lutheran Church there, University Lutheran Church. So we, in my spare time, when I wasn't studying and things like that, we helped with a refugee resettling program. We helped to resettle refugees from Chile and from Eritrea and from Laos. And so that was a big part of the things that we did while we were in Seattle.
And what years were this about?
That was, I started in 1975, and then I graduated in 1982.
Okay.
82. And so we tried to stay active in the church and in that point as well. And then I said, while I was finishing up my PhD, I said, okay, God, where do I need to go now? And do I go straight into do a postdoc? Do I do a just go try to get a teaching position? What am I going to do? He said, maybe you should get a DVM degree.
Oh.
Yeah. And so...
Okay, explain to the listeners what that is,
I'm
please.
sorry. A DVM degree is a doctorate of veterinary medicine. I've always loved animals, and that was instilled in me by my parents. And I thought, well, I could just go on and get my doctor of veterinary medicine and become a practicing veterinarian. I said, but no, I think I really should be teaching veterinary medicine.
Uh-huh.
So, and then, and all this happens because God allowed it to happen. Because, it's pretty hard to get into a veterinary school. I mean, at the time, there were only 23 in the whole country.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, and it was much harder to get into a program of veterinary medicine than into getting to medical school.
Oh, my golly, did not know that.
Yeah, so it's very difficult. But I was accepted at Washington State. And then I said, okay, this is good. I can move on. Well, after my first year in veterinary school, so I started as just a regular veterinary student, a faculty member left at Washington State, and they said, the faculty at Washington State said, well, Louise, why don't you just drop out of the DVM program and join as a faculty member? Because they needed somebody to teach anatomy, and I could do that. But and since I already had my PhD, I was essentially qualified. I said, no. I want to finish my DVM degree. So let me be a part-time faculty member, part-time veterinary student. I had no idea how odd that was. I mean, there's probably less than 10 people in the country who went through vet school while they were teaching.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
So God opened that door for me. And so it took me a little longer because I was essentially a 70% time faculty member, half-time veterinary student. And I took some of my junior classes before I finished all my sophomore classes. All my prerequisites were in order, whatever. But I worked out the program, so I was able to do that. And I did research at the same time.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. You have the brains and the talent, lady. Oh.
Well, I developed an interest in studying what are causes of epilepsy. And so I worked with some faculty members there, and I did some research. Anyway, so that was in addition to everything else. So must say that I did not get to spend a whole lot of time at home.
I bet not. I bet not.
But we bought a house. We lived in Walla Walla, which is we lived in Walla Walla was where the Whitman was, and then we moved to Seattle, of course, for University of Washington, and we bought a house in Seattle, and my neighbor told Jim that, you've been here 6 months, never have seen your wife. Are you really married? But I finally met my neighbor.
Okay, good.
But it's pretty funny. Anyway, so I finished that, and then I finished my DVM degree. Washington State asked me to stay on as a full-time faculty member, but they really couldn't support my research program because at that point Washington State was sort of in a kind of a financial crisis.
Okay.
So I said, okay, well, I really would like to continue my research program, and because I think there's some things that I can add.
Is this connected to the epilepsy or not?
Yeah, the epilepsy, yes, my research program in epilepsy. And so I would like to be able to do that as well as teach. And so I moved to the University of Illinois.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
okay.
And then, of course, Jim went with me.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's a good move.
Yes. So at that point, he was following my career. And that was fine for him. He was still trying to figure out what he wanted to do in his life. Anyway, so I went to the University of Illinois, and there I was again, a faculty member doing teaching in veterinary anatomy and histology, and also doing research in neuroscience, which is what epilepsy is a part of. It's part of neuroscience. And then I decided that I needed to kind of really focus on what was going on there. But then I said, okay, in order to do this, I really need to develop my research skills. So I applied for a Fulbright Research Fellowship.
Okay, explain that to me. I never understood what a Fulbright scholar is, which I know you are a Fulbright scholar.
Yes, twice actually, but we'll get to the second one in a minute.
Okay.
So what happened, the Fulbright program is a program that was instituted shortly after World War II by the United States government. And what it's doing is trying to foster relationships between the United States and other countries to elevate education and research and to really allow the free exchange of ideas and the human experience between different countries.
Wow.
And so the Fulbright program allows U.S. citizens to go to other countries. There's about 100 different countries that have been facilitated in terms of exchanges by the Fulbright program. And also they bring individuals from the other countries to the United States. Now, this works at two levels. Students can get Fulbright fellowships and faculty members can get Fulbright fellowships. So not only are students have exchanges between the U.S. and other countries in the U.S., but also faculty can do that as well. So I was able to receive a faculty research fellowship from the Fulbright Association. But this is God working here, okay?
Because all ears.
Because what happened was I used the wrong form.
Okay.
It was the previous year's form, not the current form when I applied, and I applied at the wrong time of year. But God said, Louise, you need a Fulbright. So they gave it to me anyway.
Wow, way to go. Sight tens on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a miracle. It really was a miracle. And so I went to Paris, France, and I worked at a institution called Hôpital Salpêtrière, which is it's a medical facility, but it also has a very high research program. And I worked with one of the top scientists in the world in the area of the brain that I was focused on, which is called the cerebellum. So I was studying epilepsy, and the cerebellum is involved in epilepsy. And the person that I was working with was one of the top people in the world for me to be able to work with him. And I was able to go there for 10 months. Wow. Now, usually the Fulbrights are only 6 months, but I got 10 months.
Wow. Talk about joyously free moments. You had like a list of them already.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
God facilitates these things if you're supposed to be able to do these things. And what that did was it really jump-started my research program. So I was able to get grants when I came back, and I had graduate students and do all those kinds of things, publish papers, all that sort of stuff. So it really, really jump-started my program. But at that point, I decided that I really couldn't stay at the University of Illinois.
And why is that?
Well, the University of Illinois had a love-hate relationship with veterinary medicine.
Oh.
So they did not support the veterinary school as well as I thought they should. And I also felt that I also didn't really like living in Illinois, to be honest.
Okay.
So I moved to Texas A&M.
Okay.
So Texas A&M offered me a job.
Everybody, you grabbing onto all this, you mapping out where Louise is going and what's going on in her life. She's a go-getter. She's following God the whole time.
That's right. So where should I go? So God said, okay, you can go to Texas A&M. And
the Aggies,
right? Yes. So I ended up, and so that was 1994. 94 when I 94, 1980. Yeah, 94 when I got to Texas A&M, and so I was like a different experience because I moved there and I couldn't believe I was running my air conditioner in November. I was like, this is like hot. And humid. So I would say it was the world's best place to live, but it was a place I needed to be. So I was able to.
What city is Texas A&M?
It's in College Station, but it's right on the junction between Bryan and College Station. So it's about 90 miles north of Houston.
Okay.
Yes, right. So it's relatively, well, the community is about 100,000, maybe 120,000. and then of course the university is huge. It had 60,000 students at the university, and so that was fine. I continued my research program there. I taught veterinary students. I started to teach undergraduate students. I taught graduate students. I taught research methods to graduate students and things like that. So I did a lot of teaching. I did my research. I worked in my societies. I did all the things a university professor would do. And so that was good. But that's when Jim got the call to become a minister.
Okay.
And so he actually, when you get to talk with him, he will have to explain to you his call experience, because he had a true call. I mean, he heard voices. God spoke to him.
Yes. He and I have shared some of that.
Yes.
Oh,
and
my
so
gosh. Yeah.
this was, we were in Texas, but my mother, we were selling her house, and so he happened to be in Lake Oswego when he had his call experience, working on my mother's house. But he said, okay. He said, I've got to be a pastor. I said, okay. I'm a university professor here, but where you go, I will go.
Awesome.
And
That's
so
commitment. That's love. That's dedication. That's devotion.
It was scary.
It's scary.
It was scary because I said, I have my life here, my research, my program, my graduate students. I said, but, if God calls you to be a pastor somewhere else, then that's where it's going to be. But he had to he went to seminary in Austin at a Lutheran seminary that worked in joint with the Episcopalian seminary in Austin. So he went through and received his Master of Divinity, and he was ordained. And he said, "Okay, my call." And he said, "I would like to be called in Texas if I could be." And he was. He was. He put his life and mine too in God's hands and said, "God, where would you like me to be?" He says, "Okay, I want you to be in Brenham, Texas, which is only about 35 miles south of Bryan College Station." So we were able to stay in our home, and he commuted, which wasn't too far, to these he had a two churches yoked together. So I was able to continue my program, but he was also be able to serve as a pastor. And at this time, too, we were also taking care of both my mother and his mother. My mother lived with us as she got older and more frail. And so she lived with us for 17 years. So first she retired. She was a nurse. And when she retired, she said, "I'm going to live with one of my children." As we said, "Fine, pick one." He said, "Well, I'm going to pick Louise and Jim because they don't have any kids. I can go visit my grandchildren and my other children, but I can live in more peace and quiet with Jim and Louise." So she said, so she lived with us. So first she took care of us. And then when she got older, more frail, we took care of her. And then Jim's mother also, his dad died the year we moved to Texas, and then his mother bought a house a block away from us, and then she lived there until she could not take care of herself anymore, and then she lived in assisted living, and then we tried to have her live with us and my mother, but that wasn't so good because I couldn't take care of both ladies at once and have a full-time career. Mm-hmm. So anyways, but we found another place for her to live very close by in an assisted living place that was more complete care.
Yes.
Anyway, so we took care of our moms. So that allowed us to continue that process as well, to take care of our mothers, as well as me having my position and then Jim having his call as well.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What a beautiful life story so far. Oh, my. And I know we're just touching the tip of the iceberg, too, you know?
Yes, right. So,
oh, my gosh.
Anyway, so again, maybe I just want to emphasize the fact that when God calls us to a wide range of things to do. We all have skills. We all have talents that God gives us, but they're all different. And God really gave me the talent to be a teacher and a researcher. And I was fortunate enough to be able to teach wonderful students at Texas A&M, also University of Illinois, and at Washington State. I mean, all my students have been wonderful.
So stop right there.
Yes.
And you're a teacher right here locally.
Oh, well, that's true. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Talk real briefly about that, because I think that is incredible.
Okay. Well, okay. When I retired from Texas A&M, I knew I was going to come back to Oregon, so I just ran back to Oregon, and we decided to live here on the southern Oregon coast. And this is a long story. I won't explain how I got into it, but someone asked me to teach at the Southwestern Oregon Community College, SWAC, here. And so I said, well, I'm retired. And they said, but you could do this. you're right. I could do this. So anyway, I taught biology and to the freshman biology or the first year biology course for a term, and I also taught human anatomy and physiology to pre-nursing students. I did that for one term, and then I continued teaching just the anatomy and physiology course for pre-nursing students here at SWAC, and so that it's been a good experience to do that, but it's very different from teaching veterinary students, I will admit.
Right. But what a blessing we in our local community have from you, your vast experiences and your vast trainings and your research and everything that is compiled through your life. You're now able to share with that as a teacher right here locally in Brookings. That is pretty phenomenal.
That's true. And then when I was teaching, I had to take a break because I got a second Fulbright fellowship. I have a number of colleagues around the world, and one of my colleagues from Egypt said, "Louise, come and help teach with me for a term." I said, "Well, I really can't afford to just do that." He says, "Well, apply for a Fulbright." I said, "Well, I've already have one." He says, "Well, apply again. You can do it again." So I did, and I got one. Anyway, so I was able to teach veterinary medicine at a university in Cairo, Egypt for a semester. Then I came back, and now I'm teaching again here at SWAC.
Wow. Incredible. So from Paris to Cairo, thanks to the Fulbright.
Yes. I also taught a term in Nepal, too.
Oh, holy moly's. Listeners, are you enjoying this one today? Would you believe this goes by so fast? And I know we're running out of time.
Yes.
What final comments would you like to say about so far your life and the following of God, following of Jesus?
Well, again, we need to do what God wants us to do wherever we're at. And so now that I'm here retired, I'm doing some teaching, but I also feel really called to help in our community, which is why I volunteer at St. Timothy's. And I would encourage everybody to listen to that call. And it doesn't have to be, quote, rocket science. It doesn't have to be, teaching sophisticated, but it's anything you can do. And God wants us all to do our part. And I'm trying to do my part also at St. Timothy's.
Oh my gosh, that's a mic drop. That's what I've learned in the radio business. That's a mic drop. So everybody re-listen to what Louise just said about that. Oh, unbelievable. So thank you, listeners, for being with us today on Joyously Free. We hope that you have been inspired and challenged and have enjoyed the stories and tips, the prayers, the hope, the loves, the joys, the more stories from Louise Abbott today, our phenomenal guest. Louise, I thank you from the top of my heart for being here with us.
And thank you for having me here.
Oh, my gosh, absolutely. So thank you, KCIW 100.7 FM from Brookings, Oregon. We give thanks and credits to Tom Bozak and Mike Gorse and Candace and Rose and the entire team for making this happen. This Air Joyously Free show will be found on kciw.org, so please share it, listen, and send us a comment. If you're looking for more information about Louise, you can catch her either with me at KCIW or at St. Tim's, or if you're looking for something from me, you can find me online at twosisterswriting.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever my books are sold. But more importantly, we leave you, the listeners, with some final thoughts and a blessing. Be the best you. That's who God, Creator, higher power, made you to be. You are a spiritual being, a gorgeous gift of humanity, and thank you for being in our community and in my life. And the same with Louise. Thank you for being in my life. And to finally end this broadcast for today, as my Carol Sweetie would always say, smile big and wear bright colors. Big hugs to everybody. Louise, great big hugs to you. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to have coffee and then hear more about you. This is incredible. And all you students up at SWAC, man, you better give your teacher some accolades this week, bring her an apple or bring her something, But anyways, thank you, Louise, so very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, listeners. Have a great day. Bye.